evening.
So, guten Abend.
Let us begin with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
thank you that we can again approach your throne of grace.
danke, dass wir wieder deinen Gnadenthron nähern können.
And thank you that again you have provided bread from your word.
Und danke, dass du wieder Brot von deinem Wort gegeben hast.
And Lord, we ask you now to please help us to understand spiritual things,
So, Herr, wir bitten, dass du uns jetzt hilfst, geistliche Sachen zu verstehen.
that we understand the allegories and the things that are to come.
Dass die Allegorien und das, was noch kommen wird, dass wir sie verstehen werden.
And please hide us behind the cross.
Und bitte verberge uns hinter dem Kreuz
And may you please imbue us with your spirit.
und mögest du uns deinen Geist geben.
Let your angels minister unto us, please.
Und bitte lass deinen Engeln uns dienen
And keep us safe from Satan's attacks and distractions.
und bewahre uns vor Satans Angriffe und Ablenkungen.
And we ask and pray in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so yesterday we looked at this study about the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes.
So, gestern haben wir diesen Studium über die 10 Stämmen, die 2 Stämmen angeschaut.
And we could see that there was this division in God's kingdom back then.
Und wir konnten sehen, dass es diese Scheidung in Gottes Königreich damals gab.
And where then the northern kingdom, which was then the 10 tribes,
Die Nordkönigreich, was die 10 Stämme war,
were then an illustration of the world inside the church. Right?
war eine Darstellung von die Welt innerhalb der Gemeinde.
Because you have these 2 groups among the Advent people, the church and the world. Right?
Unter dem Adventvolk gibt es diese 2 Gruppen, also die Gemeinde und die Welt.
And we saw that those are the careless and indifferent, and they will be cleansed out. Yes?
Wir haben gesehen, dass sie hier die Sorglosen und Gleichgültigen waren und sie werden herausgereinigt.
Just like in history, the 10 tribes, they were taken captive by Assyria and were scattered and never more to be restored.
Genauso wie in der Geschichte, die 10 Stämme sind von der Assyrien gefangen weggetragen und zerstreut, nie wieder gesammelt zu sein.
But who replaced them?
Aber wer hat sie ersetzt?
Gentiles, right? Babylonians.
Die Babylonier.
Okay. So, and then we could see basically that the illustration is that these 2 tribes that illustrate the faithful people of God,
Da konnten wir sehen, dass diese 2 Stämme, was die treuen Volk Gottes darstellen,
they must always make up the number again, right?
sie mussten dann die Nummer vollständigen.
So the 10 tribes, they get swept out, but then the Gentiles will replace them. Okay.
Die 10 Stämme werden herausgefegt, aber die Heiden werden sie ersetzen.
And we saw also the Gentiles are also illustrated by 10 tribes, right?
Und wir haben gesehen, dass die Heiden sind auch durch 10 Stämme dargestellt.
Okay, and yesterday I also made this point here with heaven and earth. This is basically the biggest illustration of the 2 and the 10.
Und gestern habe ich auch diese Darstellung von Himmel und Erde gemacht. Das ist die größte Darstellung von die 2 und der 10.
Where basically heaven or Christ, he came down to earth in order to join earth back unto heaven. Yes?
Der Himmel oder Christus kam zur Erde herab, um die Erde wieder mit dem Himmel zu vereinen.
And when earth is again united with heaven, now the number is made up. Okay?
Wenn die Erde mit dem Himmel vereint ist, dann ist die Nummer vervollständigt.
The whole universe is now again in harmony with God. Okay?
Die ganze Universum ist wieder in Harmonie mit Gott.
And also the vacant places in heaven, they will be refilled.
Und auch die leeren Stellen im Himmel, sie werden gefüllt werden.
Today Brother Maris brought this thought up here. Okay.
Und gestern hat Bruder Marius diese Gedanke dazu gebracht.
Because there you can see the same principle as here. Okay?
Da kannst du dieselbe Prinzip sehen wie hier.
Because here the church was divided at a certain time, right?
Hier zu einer bestimmten Zeit war die Gemeinde zerteilt.
And those that went into apostasy, they were then cleansed out.
Diejenigen, die abgefallen sind, würden herausgereinigt,
never more to return, right?
nie wieder zurückzukommen.
But then they got replaced by Babylonians.
Dann sind sie aber durch Babylonier ersetzt worden.
And this is what you also can see here.
Das ist, was wir auch hier sehen können.
So there was 12 tribes in heaven,
Es gab
okay?
12 Stämme im Himmel,
The church in heaven.
die Gemeinde im Himmel.
But Lucifer became Satan and deceived the third part of angels. Okay?
Lucifer ist Satan geworden, hat ein dritter Teil der Engel verführt.
So he became this world basically.
Er ist diese Welt im Grunde geworden.
But they went into apostasy, never more to return, right?
Sie fielen ab, nie wieder zurückzukehren.
So they are cleansed out,
Sie sind herausgereinigt.
but how will they now be replaced?
Aber wie werden sie denn ersetzt werden?
Yeah, by those of the earth,
Von
okay?
die von der Erde,
Which are Babylonians, okay?
die Babylonier sind.
Okay, so then the number is made up again.
Dann
Okay.
ist die Nummer wieder vervollständigt worden.
I wonder if the angels, right from the beginning, there was 12 tribes in them.
Yes.
Ich frage mich, ob gleich von Anfang an, dass es 12 Stämmen von Engeln gab.
Yes, I mean at least definitely symbolically, right?
Zumindest symbolisch.
So Satan would be the 10 tribes apostatizing and the Babylonians are now the 10 tribes replacing.
So, Satan wäre die 10 Stämmen, die abfallen, und die Babylonier die 10 Stämmen, die sie ersetzen.
Yes, and maybe there were somehow literally 12 tribes also, and that therefore this is the significant,
organized the
yeah.
same.
it's a significant number, you know. Yeah.
So, vielleicht gab es ursprünglich auch 12 Stämmen von Engeln, denn es ist eine bedeutende Nummer.
Okay, so anyways, so this was just a short summary of what we looked at yesterday.
Das
Okay.
war nur eine schnelle Zusammenfassung, das, was wir gestern angeschaut
So we
haben.
can see the number always need to be made up, and this is when the 2 tribes are now going forth to join the 10. Okay.
Und das ist, wo die Nummer vervollständigt werden, wo die 2 Stämmen vorangehen, um den 10 einzusammeln.
And the number 12 marks then this completeness of God's people. Okay.
Und diese Nummer 12 macht die komplette Zahl von Gottes Volk.
Okay, good. And now we want to look at this counterfeit millennium tonight.
Jetzt wollen wir diese falsche Millennium heute Abend anschauen.
And let's first look at the true one.
Zuerst schauen wir das Wahre an.
So let's go to Revelation chapter 20,
Gehen wir zur Offenbarung Kapitel 20,
beginning in verse 1.
fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season." Okay, so this speaks about the 1,000 years, right?
Das ist Vers 3. Also das spricht hier über die 1000 Jahre.
And 1,000 years, what does it mean in a different term?
Und 1000 Jahren, anders ausgedruckt, was bedeutet
Yeah,
das?
millennium. Okay.
Millennium.
Yes. This is the millennium of peace, exactly.
Das
Okay.
ist der Millennium des Friedens.
So it marks when Christ literally comes back, yes?
Das ist markiert da, wo Christus buchstäblich wiederkommt.
But we know
An angel comes.
prophetically here Christ comes back, right?
Aber wir wissen prophetisch, Christus kommt hier wieder,
Yes, as the latter rain.
als
Okay.
der Spätregen.
And then you have a time of peace,
Dann gibt es eine Zeit des
where
Friedens,
Satan is now bound,
da wo Satan gebunden ist.
symbolically for 1,000 years, right?
Symbolisch gesehen für 1000 Jahre.
Okay. And after the 1,000 years he must be again loosed a little season.
Die
Okay.
1000 Jahre, er muss für eine kleine Weile gelöst sein.
Okay, so in verse 4, just go down to the bold-faced.
So, Vers 4 geht zu das fettgedruckte Teil am
It
Ende.
says, "And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years." So this is when the saints now reign with Christ 1,000 years. Okay,
Das ist, wo die Heiligen mit Christus 1000 Jahre lang regieren.
so this is the true millennium.
Das ist das wahre Millennium.
And it says here, when you go now down to John chapter 14,
Und wenn wir zu Johannes 14 gehen,
verses 1 to 3,
Versen 1 bis 3,
tells us where the true millennium will be.
es sagt uns, wo das wahre Millennium sein wird.
I mean, physically located.
So
Okay.
buchstäblich, wo es zu finden ist.
It says, "Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Okay, so when Christ comes, he will take you
So, wenn Christus kommt,
To where he is.
to where he is.
er wird dich dahin bringen, wo er ist.
And where is he at the moment?
Und wo ist er gerade?
In
In
Third
heaven.
heaven.
Yeah, in the third heaven.
Der
Right?
dritte Himmel.
So, therefore, the millennium will take place not here on earth, but in heaven.
So,
Okay?
deswegen, der Millennium wird nicht hier auf Erden stattfinden, sondern im Himmel.
Okay, but obviously this will be typified here. Okay,
Aber natürlich, das wird hier
I mean,
vorausgeschaltet
here
sein.
you will be physically still on earth.
Und
Okay,
hier wird man physisch doch noch auf Erden sein.
but we also know you will be the church in heaven, but on earth, right?
Wir wissen aber, dass du die Gemeinde im Himmel sein wird, die aber auf Erden ist.
Okay, good. But the point I want to make is that it's illustrating heavenly reign. Okay, it's in heaven.
Punkt, den ich hier betonen möchte, ist, dass es eine himmlische Regentschaftszeit ist. Es findet im Himmel statt.
It says your names are written in heaven.
Yes.
Eure Namen sind im Himmel geschrieben.
And Christ says, "My kingdom is not of this."
Christus
World,
sagt,
okay.
meine Königreich ist nicht von dieser Welt.
Okay. So, but Satan obviously he wants to make it the kingdom of the world. Okay.
Aber Satan möchte das Königreich von der Welt machen.
And he counterfeits this millennium, but he obviously places it here on earth.
Er fälscht diese Millennium und er stellt es hier auf diese Erden auf.
So let's read this next quote here.
So lesen wir diese nächste Zitat.
Under the heading, the counterfeit millennium.
Die Überschrift, das falsche Millennium.
It says, "The great sin charged against Babylon is that she made all nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. This cup of intoxication which she presents to the world represents the false doctrines which she has accepted as the result of her unlawful connection with the great ones of the earth. Friendship with the world corrupts her faith, and in her turn she exerts a corrupting influence upon the world by teaching doctrines which are opposed to the plainest statements of the Word of God." Okay, so what does Babylon do?
So was tut Babylon?
It makes all nations drink of her wine, right?
Sie bewirkt, dass alle Nationen von ihrem Wein trinken.
False doctrines.
Das
Okay,
sind falsche Lehren.
and let's see what one of her prominent false doctrines is.
Und lasst uns schauen, was eine von ihrem hauptfalsche Lehren ist.
Next paragraph.
Nächster Absatz.
Prominent among these false doctrines is that of the temporal millennium, 1,000 years of spiritual peace and prosperity, in which the world is to be converted before the coming of Christ. This siren song has lulled thousands of souls to sleep over the abyss of eternal ruin. Okay, so one of her prominent errors is this temporal millennium. Okay,
Eine von ihrem Hauptirrlehren ist diese temporäres Millennium.
and what does it say? What should it be?
Was sagt es? Was sollte es sein?
Peace and prosperity.
So,
Okay.
Friede und Wohlstand.
So basically what we expect in here, right?
Das, was wir hierin erwarten.
Okay. But Satan obviously he will not place it here, but he will place it in there. Okay.
Satan wird es nicht hier herbeibringen, sondern hier.
It says
Okay.
in Daniel 11, by peace you shall destroy
Destroy
many.
many. Yes.
Sagt in Daniel 11, durch Friede werde er viele
And Daniel
zerstören.
8 it says.
Daniel 8.
In Daniel 8.
Yes. Okay. So and so let's go and let's look at this false doctrine here.
So lass uns diese falsche Lehre anschauen.
Let's go to the next quote.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat.
It says, "They declared that they had the truth, that miracles were wrought among them, that angels from heaven talked with them and walked with them, that great power and signs and wonders were performed among them, and that this was the temporal millennium they had been expecting so long. The whole world was converted and in harmony with the Sunday law. And this little feeble people stood out in defiance of the laws of the land and the law of God, and claimed to be the only ones right on the earth."
Terrible. And that expression before.
Okay, so Yeah, but we see here, when is this temporal millennium taking place?
Wir können sehen, wann findet diese zeitliche Millennium statt?
In the Sunday law. Okay.
In der Sonntagsgesetz.
That's what they say. Okay, that's their
Das ist-
false doctrine.
Was
Okay.
sie sagen, das ist ihre falsche Lehre.
So here you have then this. So you have the millennium here,
So, hier haben wir den Millennium.
and this is the counterfeit millennium.
Und das hier ist der falsche Millennium.
Double N. Okay, also here.
Und auch hier.
Okay. Good. Next quote
Nächster Zitat.
says the line of distinction between professed Christians and the ungodly is now hardly distinguishable. Church members love what the world loves and are ready to join with them. And Satan determines to unite them in one body and thus strengthen his cause by sweeping all into the ranks of spiritualism. So what does Satan want to achieve?
So, was möchte Satan erreichen?
All in one ecumenism.
Yeah, he wants to join all in one body, right?
Er möchte sie alle in ein Leib vereinen.
It says, Papists who boast of miracles as a certain sign of the true church will be readily deceived by this wonder-working power. And Protestants, having cast away the shield of truth, will also be deluded. Papists, Protestants, and worldlings alike will alike accept the form of godliness without the power, and they will see in this union a grand movement for the conversion of the world and the ushering in of the long-expected millennium. Okay, so we can see, Satan wants then to unite the whole world and proclaim this as the millennium.
Also wir können sehen, dass Satan möchte sie mit der gesamten Welt vereinen und das dann als der Millennium verkünden.
Okay, so just go to in your Bibles to Revelation chapter 13.
So gehen wir in unseren Bibeln zur Offenbarung 13.
Because Satan is obviously always counterfeiting everything.
Denn Satan natürlich fälscht alles.
And let us read verse 11 to 12.
Und wir lesen die Versen 11 und 12.
It says, And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Okay, so the two-horned beast is the United States, yes?
Das zweihörnige Tier ist der USA.
What does it do?
Was tut es?
Speaks like a dragon.
It speaks like a dragon, yes?
Spricht wie eine Drache.
And what does it do?
Was tut es?
Yeah, it calls to do what?
Es,
To worship the first beast.
Yes, but it brings in all the world, right?
es bewirkt oder es zwingt, dass sie den ersten Tier anbeten. Also
Yes.
es bringt die ganze Welt zusammen.
This is what we read in the quote. Yeah, Satan wants to unite them all in one body.
Das
Okay?
ist, was wir in den Zitat gelesen haben. Satan möchte sie alle in ein Leib vereinen.
Okay, and it says here, verse 13 and 14,
Die Verse 13 und 14.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, so,
The knocking. 1848.
yes. So knocking.
Diese Klopfen,
Spiritualism.
Spiritismus.
So, now let's go to Revelation chapter 17.
So gehen wir jetzt zur Offenbarung 17.
Verse 12 to 13.
Die Verse 12 und 13.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So when do the 10 kings begin to rule?
So wann fangen an, diese 10 Könige zu regieren?
The threefold union comes together.
Yeah.
as we heard.
No,
Die
this
dreifaltige Union zusammenkommt.
Sunday law, right?
Im Sonntagsgesetz.
Okay. And how are they described here in verse 12?
Und wie sind sie hier in Vers 12 beschrieben?
10 horns.
10 horns.
10 Hörnern.
Okay. In the United States, 2 horns, right?
Die USA hat 2 Hörner.
Okay. So what do we see here?
Was können wir hier sehen?
False 12.
Yeah, the false 12, right?
Falsche 12.
So the 2 want to join the 10. Okay.
So die 2 möchten die 10 zu sich ziehen.
Okay. So just like in the true, you have the 2 tribes joining the 10. Also in the counterfeit, you have the 2 horns joining the 10 horns. Okay.
So wie in das Wahre, du hast den 2 Hörnern, die nach den 10 gehen, so wie in der Fälschung.
Yeah, the two cannot go to the 10. They have to wait until they receive power. And here
Yes.
they get the power, and that's when they go.
So die 2 können nicht gehen, bis sie den Kraft aus der Höhe empfangen. Und das ist, was der Falsche auch hier empfangen.
Yes.
Die Kraft
Yeah, because
Satans.
when the number is made up in the true, the Holy Spirit descends. Okay.
Also wenn die Nummer vervollständigt ist in das Wahre, kommt der Heilige Geist herab.
When the number is completed or made up here in the counterfeit,
Und wenn die Nummer hier in der Fälschung vervollständigt ist,
the satanic spirit will come down.
kommt
Okay.
der unheilige Geist herab.
Fire comes down from heaven. we read, right?
Satanische Geist. Also Feuer kommt vom Himmel herab.
So here mark counterfeit 12. Okay.
Hier können wir die falsche 12 markieren.
Okay. So, and this counterfeit spirit.
Dieser falsche Geist.
Okay. And we also know that Satan will always do it at the beginning already, right?
Wir wissen, dass Satan das immer am Anfang tun wird.
Okay. But he will repeat it here at the 6th plague, yes?
Er wird es aber hier an der 6. Plage wiederholen.
Because there we can see the threefold union goes out again to deceive the whole world,
Also
right?
da können wir sehen, die dreifaltige Union geht wieder, um die ganze Welt zu verführen.
Okay, so just jump over the next Bible verses and go to the next heading, the next quote.
Gehen wir zu den Notizen zurück und überspringen wir die nächsten Bibelversen, gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat.
Under the heading Messiah to reign in Jerusalem.
Unter der Überschrift der Messias soll regieren in Jerusalem.
Says, the churches of our time are seeking worldly aggrandizement and are as willing to see the light of the prophecies and receive the evidences of their fulfillment which show that Christ is soon to come, as were the Jews in reference to his first appearing. They were looking for the temporal and triumphant reign of Messiah in Jerusalem. Professed Christians of our time are expecting the temporal prosperity of the church in the conversion of the world and the enjoyment of the temporal millennium. So what does she compare here?
So, was vergleicht sie hier?
Christ's reign in Jerusalem with the millennium.
Yes.
So Christi Regentschaft in Jerusalem mit das Millennium.
So the Jews thought, okay, the Messiah would reign in Jerusalem. Okay.
Die Juden haben gedacht, dass der Messias in Jerusalem regieren
Because they had
wird.
to, and in the prophecy, they had to rebuild the temple in order for him to come.
Yes.
Die Prophezeiung, sie mussten das Tempel wieder aufbauen, sodass er kommen kann.
So therefore, she links now the Messiah in Jerusalem with the temporal millennium. Okay.
So sie verbindet der Messias in Jerusalem mit diesem temporäres Millennium.
So what can we already see?
So was können wir bereits sehen.
This is the prophecy of Haggai.
Yeah. Okay. So when the temporal millennium comes, they also will believe, okay, the Messiah needs to reign in Jerusalem, right?
Wenn der zeitliche Millennium kommt, dann werden auch sie glauben, dass der Messias in Jerusalem regieren muss.
Yeah.
That surely must be built in order, it must be built before complete.
No, I mean they will build this temple. Okay.
Also sie werden auf jeden Fall diesen Tempel bauen.
Okay. So, and we studied this, yes, with the Pope.
Haben wir studiert über den Papst.
Because where will the Pope sit in?
Und wo wird der Papst sitzen?
Temple of
Yeah.
God showing himself.
Yes, let's go to 2 Thessalonians,
Gottes
chapter 2.
zeigt sich wie Gott. Gehen wir zu 2. Thessaloniker, Kapitel 2.
And let us read here verse 3 to 4.
Wir lesen die Versen 3 und 4.
It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Right? Okay, so he will sit there in this temple and profess to be God.
Er werde in diesem Tempel sitzen und behaupten, Gott zu sein.
Okay,
Ezekiel says you're a man and not God.
yes.
Hesekiel sagt, du bist doch wohl ein Mensch und nicht Gott.
Okay, and when we look at the line,
So, wenn wir die Linie anschauen,
according to Daniel chapter 8,
gemäß Daniel Kapitel 8,
where do we see the papacy coming up?
wo können wir der Papst sehen, wie er heraufkommt?
Come to Daniel 8. Okay, it's not till the seventh plague.
Right here,
Hier,
right?
die 7. Plage.
So this is where he will manifest himself, sitting in the temple of God, showing himself to be
So,
God.
hier ist
Right?
es, wo er sich manifestieren wird, wie er ins Tempel Gott sitzt und behauptet, Gott zu sein.
Okay, so and we studied this already in past times. How they will rebuild the temple. Trump will be Cyrus, right?
Und wir haben das in der Vergangenheit studiert, wie sie diesen Tempel wieder bauen werden, dass Trump Kyros sein wird.
Okay, so and let's just see, because we many times made this comparison between Trump and Hitler, right?
Lass uns schauen, denn öfters haben wir diesen Vergleich zwischen Trump und Hitler
I
gemacht.
mean, I know you're saying that from Daniel 8, but she says the Great Tribulation is also there. It's verse 60, so it's also because the deadly wound is healed at the beginning, and then at the sixth plague of the Great Tribulation, and then the seventh. So it's just showing you 3 times. So it has to be in the sixth plague in that test where he's going to do this, because when you get to the end of it, it's Babylon's been destroyed, Jerusalem's already taken care of. So
No, but it's a counterfeit Jerusalem that will be destroyed here at the end, right? It's an illustration of Babylon.
yeah, I'm not denying that, but where I'm talking about the okay, I agree that it's going to be destroyed then, but the way he sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, has to be before Jerusalem is destroyed at the end of the sixth plague,
Why do you say so?
because it's part of the process of Ezekiel 38, that's why.
And didn't we put it after?
No. That's where he's going to manifest himself. That's the whole point about it. The counterfeit comes first. He comes at the beginning there. These false prophets rise up claiming to be Christ inwardly. It's the same place. Because the last thing that will happen is that, Ezekiel, when they destroy the Kiev, that's when he lifts up his people, and that's when they give the midnight cry. So it has to do it just before the seventh plague begins.
Yes.
This last portion there is him just redoing it again for this last group. He's not going to let them get out of his grasp somehow. But the test for Ezekiel 38 is the sixth plague.
I have to remind
So
myself
Titus
of
comes.
these things.
I mean, you got it there. Matthew 24, Titus comes at the beginning of the sixth plague.
Yeah, Titus comes here, right?
Okay,
Titus
Jerusalem
kommt
is
hier.
destroyed.
That's here.
Right there. Right, that's
Jerusalem
it.
ist da zerstört.
That's Kiev.
Das ist Kiew.
Yes.
Okay, that's what the prophecy is pointing to.
Darauf weist die Prophezeiung hin.
That's where the true Jerusalem is lifted up and they give the midnight cries, the candlestick that's set on the hill.
Das ist, wo der wahre Jerusalem der Mitternachtsruf erhält und gibt den Mitternachtsruf. Das ist der Leuchter, der auf einen Hügel gestellt ist.
Okay, maybe you're right. I mean, doesn't matter. Okay, we can speak about it later. Okay, so let's go now to this next quote,
So gehen wir zu diesem nächsten Zitat.
because we made this comparison, right, between Trump and Hitler.
Denn wir haben diesen Vergleich zwischen Trump und Hitler gemacht.
Among other things, Trump says, I will make America great again. Yes.
Unter anderem Trump sagte, ich werde Amerika wieder groß machen.
And what did Hitler say?
Was sagte Hitler?
I will make Germany great again.
Ich werde
Okay.
Deutschland wieder groß machen.
Hitler, he murdered all these Sabbath keepers, all these Jews, right?
Und Hitler hat all diese Sabbathaltern ermordet, all diese Juden.
And this is what Trump will also do. Okay.
Das ist, was Trump auch tun wird.
Okay, and let's see what Hitler said back then when he came to power.
Schauen, was Hitler damals sagte, als er zur Macht kam.
So this is from the New York Times from 1934,
Das ist von der New York Times von 1934.
and it says, Chancellor Adolf Hitler today proclaimed the arrival of the Nazi millennium, predicting that the next 1,000 years would not witness another revolution in Germany. He was equally positive that the National Socialist movement had now become absolute master of the Reich and that its leadership rested in the hands of its best man. Okay, so what did he proclaim?
So, was hat er verkündet?
The millennium.
Das
Okay.
Millennium.
Yeah, but Hitler, who was he?
So,
Which
Hitler,
king?
Wer war er? Was für ein König?
He was the king of the north,
Er war
right?
der König des Nordens.
He was in league with the papacy. Okay.
Er war in Cahoots mit der Papst.
Okay, so and therefore he proclaimed this millennium. Okay.
Deswegen, er hat diese Millennium verkündet.
Obviously a counterfeit millennium.
Natürlich eine Fälschung.
Okay. So and also when you go to 1989,
Auch wenn wir jetzt hinunterkommen zu 1989.
this is these pictures that we probably all know.
Das sind Bilder, von denen wir wahrscheinlich alle kennen.
It's the piece of the Berlin Wall at Fatima, right?
Es ist dieser Teil der Berliner Mauer zur Fatima.
Where the Pope dedicated now the downfall of communism to Mary.
So, der Papst hat diesen Zerfall des Kommunismus Mary geweiht.
Okay, and he wrote then this devotion to her.
Und er hat in diese Weihung zu ihr geschrieben.
It's just below this picture there, this plate.
Das zweite Bild hier, also dieses Plakat.
And it says here in the photo, we can read the dedication of John Paul II. It says something like this: Thank you, Heavenly Guardian, for having led the people into freedom with motherly love. Okay, so what did they proclaim in 1989?
So, was haben sie in 1989 verkündet?
Peace.
Yeah, peace, right?
Friede.
They said now it was this wonderful time of peace. Okay.
Sie haben gesagt, es war diese wunderbare Zeit des
And
Friedens.
the counterfeit is, counterfeit, it's communism gets overthrown, just like Hitler overthrew
Yeah,
communism.
exactly. Okay.
Und das Kommunismus ist umgeworfen, genauso wie Hitler der Kommunismus umgestürzt
So
hat.
here you have 1989 proclaiming this time of peace and freedom. Okay.
Das ist 1989, der verkündet diese Zeit von Friede und Wohlstand.
And this was the overthrow of communism, right?
Das war der Zerfall des Kommunismus.
Okay, and Hitler, when he came to power, what
Und
did he
Hitler,
do?
als er an die Macht kam, was tat er?
He overthrew communism.
When he did it to come to power.
Yeah, I mean, also when he was in power, he
Yes, but he
Arrested all these-
absolute power,
yes.
he had to get rid of them.
Um totale Macht zu erobern, er hat die Kommunisten beiseite
Yes.
gereinigt.
So therefore, the fall of communism marks here this beginning of this millennium.
So,
Okay.
der Zerfall des Kommunismus markiert das Anfang dieser falschen Millennium.
Okay, and eventually, obviously, it led to 9/11. Okay.
Letztendlich führte das zum 11. September hin.
Okay, so yeah, therefore we have these different illustrations of these false millenniums. Yes.
Deswegen haben wir diese verschiedenen Darstellungen von dieser falschen Millennium.
And also now in the Ukraine war,
Und auch jetzt in der Ukraine-Krieg
we know that they also want to implement this church and state combination. Okay,
wir wissen, dass auch da wollen sie diese Staat- und Kirche-Vereinigung einführen.
and because Hitler, when he said this is now the millennium, how was it called?
Denn Hitler, als er gesagt hat, dies sei der Millennium, wie ist es genannt?
How was his empire called?
Wie ist sein Kaiserreich genannt?
Yeah, the Third Reich.
Das
Okay.
Dritte Reich.
So if there's the Third Reich, there's also a second and a first one.
Also
Okay.
wenn es ein Dritte Reich gab es auch ein zweites und ein erstes.
And the First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire.
Und das
Okay.
Erste Reich war Heilige Römische Imperium oder Kaiserreich.
And we will see this as we now go on. Okay?
Das werden wir sehen, wenn wir jetzt weitermachen.
So let's just read this next quote here.
Dann lesen wir diese nächste Zitat.
Speaking about the Ukraine war.
Er spricht über den Ukraine-Krieg.
This is now from the internet here.
Das ist von der Internet runtergeladen.
A comment. It says Kiev is our common Jerusalem, and it is Kiev that the Russian Orthodox faith came from, Patriarch Kirill said. We will pray for the prosperity of Ukraine, for peace and consent among its citizens. Meanwhile, Filaret, the head of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Kiev Patriarchy, which is not recognized by the World Orthodox community, claims that Patriarch Kirill has come to Ukraine with not only spiritual matters in his hand, but also political purposes. So this is here from Russia Today, okay?
Das ist ein Entzug von Russia Today.
And this was a few years before the war started.
Das ist
Okay.
ein paar Jahre noch bevor der Krieg anfängt.
And what did Kirill say about Kiev?
Und was sagt der Kirill über Kiew?
Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Okay. So it's their Jerusalem.
Das
Okay.
ist deren Jerusalem.
Okay. And when you go now to this next quote here from Religious News Service,
Also wenn wir zu diesem nächsten Zitat gehen von religiöser News Service,
speaking now about the current war,
spricht über den anwesenden Krieg.
when it comes to Russian Orthodoxy, Kiev is essentially Jerusalem. And this is a conflict over who will have control of Orthodoxy, Moscow or Constantinople. While the secular media tries to guess Vladimir Putin's motives in Ukraine, one important aspect of the current situation has gone largely ignored: religion. I'm no expert in Eastern European history, but my training in church history offers a lens into the events in Ukraine. In effect, the world is witnessing a new version of an old tale. The quest to recreate an imperial Christian state, a new medieval Holy Roman Empire, uniting political, economic, and spiritual power into an entity to control the earthly and heavenly destiny of European peoples. Okay, so what does this writer say here?
Was sagt dieser Schriftsteller hier?
What is the purpose of Putin?
So, was ist der Zweck von
Create
Putin?
a holy Roman.
Yeah, to create a Holy Roman Empire.
Um ein
Okay,
heiliges römisches Kaiserreich zu.
which was the combination of church and state.
Das war
Okay.
die Verbindung von Staat und Kirche.
So therefore we can see it typifies the Sunday law, right?
Hier können wir sehen, dass es die Sonntagsgesetz vorausschattet.
Yeah, and it's this false millennium. Okay,
Es ist diese falsche Millennium.
and what does he always want to have?
Und was möchte er immer haben?
Yes, what does he want to have?
Was möchte er immer haben?
The king of the north,
Der König des Nordens.
Jerusalem, right?
Er möchte Jerusalem
Okay,
haben.
and in this case it's Kiev. Okay,
In diesem Fall ist es Kiew.
okay, so and we could see in this illustration when the 12 comes together. Okay,
So, wir konnten sehen, in dieser Darstellung, wenn die 12 zusammenkommt,
what did it say? They ushered in this millennium, but who was opposing them?
so, was sagte es? Sie haben diese Millennium hineingeführt, aber wer hat sie widerstanden?
Yeah, this little group. Okay,
Diese kleine Gruppe.
so as long as this little group is there, the millennium is not really there for them. Okay,
Solange dass diese kleine Gruppe da ist, ist diese Millennium nicht für sie da.
and therefore, what do they eventually come to decide?
So, deswegen, zu welcher Entscheidung kommen sie letztendlich?
To kill them.
Sie
Okay,
zu töten.
so this is exactly what Putin also wants to do. He wants to get rid of these Ukrainians.
Das ist genau das, was Putin tun möchte. Er möchte diese Ukrainer loswerden.
Because they stand in his way. Okay,
Sie stehen ihm im Weg.
the whole world is united. Magog is with him, right?
Also die ganze Welt ist vereint. Also Magog ist mit ihm.
And he wants to just get rid of this little group that is annoying him.
Und er möchte diese kleine Gruppe loswerden, die ihm ein Ärger sei.
Okay, so just go to these next quotes here,
So gehen wir zu diesen nächsten Zitaten.
because they speak about the Holy Roman Empire.
Denn sie sprechen über das heilige römische Imperium.
says the Holy Roman Empire, Charlemagne in English. Yeah. So Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, founder of the Holy Roman Empire, was the son of Pepin, the first of the Carolingian line of Frankish kings, and so on and so forth. Okay. And here it says he was the founder of the Holy Roman Empire.
Ihr sagt, war der Erfinder oder der Gründer der Heilige Römische Imperium.
So just go to the next bold-faced.
Gehen wir zum nächsten fettgedruckten.
He was crowned Emperor of the Romans at Rome by Pope Leo III on Christmas Day 800. In both civil and ecclesiastical matters, Charlemagne carried out with consummate ability the policy of his father. Okay, so what did he have joined together?
Hatte vereint
Church and state.
Staat
Okay.
und Kirche.
And that's why it was called Holy Roman Empire. Okay?
Deswegen war es der Heilige Römische Imperium
And
genannt.
the holy because the church was joined unto it.
Heilig, weil die Gemeinde sich angeschlossen war.
Okay. In the next quote,
Im nächsten Zitat.
this writer says it did not really start with Charlemagne, but a little bit later with Otto the First.
Dieser Schreiber schrieb, dass es nicht wirklich mit Karl der Große anfing, sondern mit Otto der Erste.
And just read here this boldfaced.
Dann lesen wir das fettgedruckten Teil.
In the conception of empire was still to survive, the Pope must ultimately invite the ruler of the strongest of these three units to assume imperial crown. The imperial crown. And this was what happened when in 962 Pope John XII invited Otto I of Germany to renew once more the Roman Empire. As the imperial strength of the whole Frankish tribe had given them the empire in 800, that was Charlemagne, so did the national strength of the East Frankish kingdom, now resting indeed in a Saxon rather than a Frankish basis, bring the empire to its ruler in 962. And also the next bold-faced.
Nächste fettgedruckte.
He was crowned by John XII on Candlemas Day 962, and thus was begun the Holy Roman Empire, which lasted henceforth with a continuous life until 1806. Okay, so this was then this combination of the church and state. Okay,
Dies war diese Verbindung von Staat und Kirche.
typifying the Sunday Law crisis.
Das
Okay,
schattet den Sonntagsgesetzkrise voraus.
the Holy Roman Empire.
Heilige Römische Imperium.
And this is exactly what Putin tries to do now.
Und das ist genau das, was Putin versucht jetzt zu tun.
And therefore, we can clearly see it's a type of the Sunday Law. Yes.
Deswegen können wir klar sehen, dass das ein Typus von Sonntagsgesetz ist.
Okay. And we don't need to read the rest, but you can just go to this little map there.
Also, der Rest muss man nicht lesen. Wir können aber zu diesen Karte gehen.
There you can see how the Holy Roman Empire looked like. Yeah.
Da können wir sehen, wie diese heilige römische Imperium aussah.
Obviously, the borders changed here and there during the centuries, but this was here one depiction of it.
Natürlich, die Grenzen haben sich über die Zeitaltern hier und da verändert, aber hier ist eine Darstellung davon.
Okay, so now let us go also to this next quote here under the heading Tower of Babel.
So gehen wir zu diesem nächsten Zitat unter der Überschrift Der Turm von Babel. Gehen.
It says, "Here they decided to build a city, and in it a tower of such stupendous height as should render it the wonder of the world. These enterprises were designed to prevent the people from scattering abroad in colonies." So what was their purpose?
Was war Ihre Absicht?
Yeah, to unite everybody, right?
Allen zu vereinen.
God had directed man to disperse throughout the earth, to replenish and subdue it. But these Babel builders, determined to keep their community united in one body, and to found a monarchy that should eventually embrace the whole earth. So this is always the case, okay?
Das ist immer der Fall.
Satan always wants to unite everybody in one body in rebellion against God.
So, Satan möchte alle immer vereinen in ein Leib in Rebellion gegen Gott.
Thus their city would become the metropolis of a universal empire. Its glory would command the admiration and homage of the world and render the founders illustrious. The magnificent tower reaching to the heavens was intended to stand as a monument of the power and wisdom of its builders, perpetuating their fame to the latest generations. Next quote.
Nächster Zitat.
The man of Babel had determined to establish a government that should be independent of God. There were some among them, however, who feared the Lord, but who had been deceived by the pretensions of the ungodly and drawn into their schemes. For the sake of these faithful ones, the Lord delayed his judgments and gave the people time to reveal their true character. So, and this is what we also need to understand, okay?
Und das ist auch, was wir verstehen müssen.
So, even though Satan will bring in first the whole world apparently together,
So,
okay?
obwohl Satan hier scheinbar die ganze Welt hier zusammenbringen
And they
wird.
will now force those that don't obey to obey, okay?
Und sie werden diejenigen, die nicht gehorchen, zwingen zu gehorchen.
Yeah, so they want to blot out God's people,
Sie
okay?
wollen Gottes Volk ausmerzen.
At the same time, God's people will obviously also work, okay?
So, zur selben Zeit wird Gottes Volk auch wirken.
And they will draw people away from Satan's kingdom to them, okay?
Und sie werden einige von Satans Königreich zu sich wegziehen.
Okay, and this is what happened here at Babel, okay?
Das ist, was hier auch zu Babel geschah.
So at the beginning they were all united and some were just deceived through this enterprise,
So,
okay?
am Anfang waren sie alle vereint und einige waren nur verführt durch diese Unternehmen.
It says here God delayed his judgments for the benefit of those deceived ones,
Aber
okay?
es sagt, dass Gott verzögerte seine Gerichte zum Wohl diejenigen, die verführt waren.
In order that they can see the true character of this enterprise and join to God again.
Sodass sie den wahren Charakter von diesen Unternehmen erkennen können und sich dann Gott wieder anschließen können.
Okay, so eventually, this will backfire on Satan. Okay,
So letztendlich wird das
nach hinten losgehen. Schuss nach hinten.
ja, für Satan wird wieder nach hinten losgehen.
Because at the beginning he will unite the world. They will go forward, trying to now get rid of all the opponents.
Denn am Anfang wird er die Welt vereinen, nach vorne gehen und versuchen, all die Widersteher seines Reiches zu töten oder zu beseitigen.
But eventually this will only reveal him, and then will people join to the two true tribes. Okay.
Aber letztendlich wird das nur seine Charakter offenbaren und die Leute werden Gottes wahre Gemeinde anschließen.
And then God's people can now make up the number through these Gentiles that formerly were part of the false 12 tribes. Okay.
Und dann Gottes Volk kann die Nummer vervollständigen durch die Heiden, die sich dazu schließen. How did you say?
That were formerly
Also
part of the Counterfeit 12 tribes. Okay.
Die vorher ein Teil von den falschen 12 Stämmen waren.
Okay. So, all right. So this was basically, the points I wanted to share this evening.
So,
Okay.
das war im Grunde die Punkte, die ich heute Abend mitteilen wollte.
So we can see this true joining of the two sticks and the counterfeit joining of the two sticks.
Wir können
Okay.
diese wahre Verbinden der zwei Stücke sehen und diese Fälschung davon sehen.
All right. And this illustration with Gog and Magog is just another illustration of what is taking place here. Okay.
Und diese Darstellung von Gog und Magog ist nur eine weitere Darstellung von das, was hier stattfindet.
And Putin, he just wants to, have his Holy Roman Empire with his Millennium, but the Ukrainians are in his way. Okay.
Putin möchte nur seine heilige römische Imperium haben,
With his Millennium.
also mit seinem Millennium, aber die Ukrainer stehen ihm im Wege.
Everybody sees this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
Okay. Good. So I would say then we can close for this evening,
Also ich würde sagen, dass wir für heute Schluss machen können.
and let us make sure that we are among the true.
Lasst uns vergewissern, dass wir unter das Wahre stehen.
Let us close with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet schließen.